Hello, my name is Craig Lang. I'm the Executive Director of Football Operations for Reshape Football Club in Alexandria, Egypt. I also have a business in the United States, which is called Skillful Coach, and this has been my business for approximately 30 years. And through Skillful Coach, I work with players and coaches all over the United States and also in Europe and other parts of Africa and Saudi Arabia as well.
Hello, Mr. Craig. I'm very happy to have you tonight.
Thank you. It's my honor.
I just want to ask you about, to speak about your practice on the football. You're from the United States,
Yes.
From the Minnesota city, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
in the middle of the United States on the northern border with Canada.
So you were an ex-football player before?
Yeah, I started out watching games on television, and Santos from Brazil came to the United States to play against some of the professional clubs at that time. And with Santos was Pelé. He was the big star. And so Pelé was playing in the game, and he did some remarkable things. And so before the game even went to halftime, I left watching the game. I went out in the backyard and started kicking a ball around. And within probably 2 hours, I had friends of mine from all over the neighborhood, and we were playing football out in the backyard. But we were using like an NBA basketball. I was still playing. At that point, I was still playing when I went to England for the first time. By the time, that was probably, how old was I? I was 24 at the time when I took my first course in England, 25. Actually, I have the licenses from England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, United States Soccer Federation, United Soccer Coaches Association, and then I have a national youth license from the United States Soccer Federation also. And so with that, I'm qualified to coach like youth players, probably 4-year-olds, all the way up to full professionals. And so it's been an amazing experience for me to learn different styles of play, different philosophies.
Is it different from having teaching to kids and youth and to the primary team?
Yeah, well, with the kids, it's obviously everything that you're doing is about technical development. A lot of it is not anything to do with tactical, because up until the age of 8 and 9 years old, they have no concept of spatial awareness. So if you're telling players, oh, yeah, I want you to run into that space, they're like, oh, okay, that's great, I'll run into that space. They have no idea what you're talking
what
about,
they're doing,
right?
yeah.
Or keep that space big, stay out of the space. Okay, I'll do that. And of course, everybody coagulates towards the space anyway.
You're just following the ball.
Yes, exactly.
Without...
Instead of teaching them all the tactics of the game, you need to develop their skills so that in 2 or 3 years, when they're really able to understand more of the tactical concepts, they have all the technical skills that are necessary to play the game well. So they're no longer slaves to the ball. Really need to develop the athleticism. A lot of what we do with Reshape is we'll have a group of players together inside of like a 20 by 20 meter square, and each player has a ball. And what they're trying to do is they have to tag somebody else's ball and then try to tag someone else's. And every time they tag someone's ball, they get a point.
Okay.
Right? So now
it's like a possession game.
Yes, it is a possession game. Now the thing is that some of the players, they don't want to be tagged. They're changing direction like 15, 20 times in a 30-second period where they're moving really, really fast. Well, that's athletic development. Like an 8-year-old kid, they function really well socially in groups of 2 and 3. But I can recall a time in the United States where we had those kids playing 11-a-side football. They couldn't comprehend playing in 11-a-side football because they only function well in groups of 2 and 3. So you put them in groups of 11, and it's like they're just completely overwhelmed by all the numbers and all the pressure that's on the field. So eventually FIFA said, we're going to play smaller sided games. Well, that was the reason behind it.
Yes,
So,
yes, that's exactly.
yeah.
You just play 5 players, and then you just play for the 7 players, and then for the
Yes,
11 players.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
And
is,
so you
this is
build
the
up
reason.
through there. It's a progression again.
Because even for us, if someone is playing for like a 5-team football game, and then you get to play for the professional football game for
Yes.
the team of 11, you will get lost.
Yes.
Tell us that you were more specialized about the training for the women's football, right?
Yes. Let's see. I'm working with both the men's and the women's professional teams in our club. The women's team, it's been an extremely rewarding experience working with them because they have a real passion for the game and they all want to become the best they possibly can.
Yes, because they selected this game on purpose.
Yes,
regardless
exactly right.
how tough it is,
Yes.
regardless how fast it is, how much effort they should do to express themselves in this challenging game.
Yes.
And how you see the women football in the USA.
Women's football in the United States is huge. And this is one of the reasons why the United States...
It's the strongest.
It's what? It's strong,
the strongest,
yes.
yeah, the strongest.
This is one of the reasons why the U.S. has had such an advantage over other nations. Football in the United States was huge 25, 30 years ago. I mean, there were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 million girls playing football in the United States at that time. And they had grown up playing with their brothers or other boys in the neighborhood. And a lot of them played on boys' teams growing up. And it wasn't like they were filling a spot. They excelled. They were really athletic. And now when the national team program came into existence, Anson Dorrance, who was the coach of the team, he's getting all these highly skilled players from all over the country. And he's bringing them together for the national team camps. And there were a lot of really well-skilled teams at that time, like Sweden and Norway were very good. Germany was a very good team at that time. China was exceptionally good. And they had really good quality players. But they probably only had maybe at the most 15 really good quality teams. Well, now you look at the world scene and it's like every nation is producing excellent women's players. And you look at Germany, and well, Germany could win the World Cup anytime, right?
But it's very unique for the USA having a strong women football team.
Yeah.
And the first team, the men football team, they have never won the World Cup, for example.
Well, the thing there is that with the men's team, they're at a deficit. The first World Cup, the United States finished third.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
Yeah,
they finished third. In 1950, they beat Brazil in the World Cup game.
It was different
at
that time.
Sorry, not Brazil. They beat England.
Yeah.
But the quality of play, though, was still at a really high level.
From another perspective, the people who are watching the game now, the United States, totally different. I believe that for the USA, we have two turning points. At that time, when David Beckham joined the LA Galaxy, this is what an important station for the football in the USA.
It was huge.
And the next time was recently by joining Messi by joining Messi. Yeah.
Sorry, just kidding.
It was a really a turnover, and then Suarez. Though it's different now for the mindset of the people watching the game and for the players to join the football game in the USA.
It's been amazing because the fan base in the United States, there's always been a strong fan base for the game, but it was more.
The stadiums are full now. Watching Messi,
every stadium is full. Exactly right. So all the stadiums are full. They're all sold out, and you know, the largest stadium is probably, I think it's 33,000, but they sell out 33,000 every game.
What you believe in is to let the team practice on different tactics, different skills.
Yes.
You change your tactics upon each game. Depends on the opponent. How they play, their style.
You change it to how your opponent is playing and also what your players are capable of playing.
Oh, okay.
So some of them have different types of skills. That's why you substitute players. So one player might start 2 or 3 games in a row. Now you're playing against a different opponent that's showing something different. And so suddenly, you know what? I've got a player on the bench that can address that issue and solve that problem. So I'm going to put that player into the game. And so that's one thing to think about. The other thing is that when you're talking about tactical situations, recently we played a game and the 2 central backs from the opposing team, they were really deep. And what they would do is they would move out slowly when they played the ball forward, but the midfielders would move faster. So what we started doing was we played with a striker right in the middle of those 2 girls, probably about 10, 12 meters in front of them. So as the midfielder was moving forward, she's probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 meters of space. So now suddenly we can play the ball in behind the midfield to that player, move to support her quickly. So we look at situations within the game itself and see how we can change things.
How do you see the coaching philosophy?
The coaching philosophies. Are you talking about here in Egypt or worldwide?
No, let us take the perspective of the worldwide, and then we will be coming to the how we can practice it in Egypt and the
Okay.
Egyptian league.
Well, now here's something. You're talking about football in America. The coaching structure in America is really strong. And so the coaches now are learning the game inside and outside. They understand all the technical execution the player needs to play well. They understand the tactical parts of the game and how to teach it really well. And so I would say that the coaching structure in the United States is now maybe on par with some of the European nations. Now, here in Egypt, I've seen an improvement in the quality of coaching since I arrived. Like the CAF is now, they're offering more coaching schools for
Yeah,
people
I
to
saw
attend.
this woman coach
Yes.
federation. I believe that's its name.
Mhm.
So the coaches in Egypt I'm talking about the women's scale. They are developing their skills.
Yes.
They are exposed more for chances to have more coaching programs.
Yes. And that's the case, isn't it? They need the chance. They need more coaching programs. And I think CAF is starting to do that now. I've actually contacted CAF like maybe 3 or 4 times about attending a course, and they never had courses. And this is over a period of like 5 years. And it's like, I started hitting myself in the head with a hammer because I was really frustrated. I wanted to attend one of the courses. And then now what I found out is recently, they're starting to hold more and more courses.
Yes, they had it 2 consecutive years, last year and this year.
And that's great. I mean, that's how you develop coaches. You put them in a situation where they can learn new ideas, new concepts. And then at the same time, you've got this whole group of coaches that are sitting around and they're talking to each other and they're sharing ideas and they're sharing ways of playing the game differently. And so I think in the next few years here in Egypt, I think you're going to see a real leap in the quality of play. I'm not saying that the quality of play is bad right now. I'm just saying that like the quality of coaching is improving. And so I think that you're going to see the players improve because of that quality of coaching.